Good day. Welcome back to the Primal stream. Uh, I want to talk about the process of primal encounter, how to initiate primal encounter, and what it is that we're actually looking for. So let's talk about what we're looking for first, and then we'll talk a little bit about what can be done to experience primal encounter. Primal encounter is one way of understanding it is where you have two aspects of yourself that are coming into contact, and it is a love relationship primarily. By love relationship, I mean that you are having two aspects of yourself coming together in full recognition, respect of one another, and a love encounter. The primal encounter is chiefly an encounter of love. So you can put whatever you want in there that you associate with love. Understanding, respect, joy, inspiration, a feeling of beneficence and goodwill, a sense of home, a sense of deep longing fulfilled. So I call primal encounter a first love experience, and I truly believe that love between people is not possible until a primal encounter occurs within the self. We feel love outside of ourselves, and we seek and chase love or attract love from others as we grow. But this is largely because we haven't felt that within ourselves. We haven't had that encounter within ourselves. So we become reliant on the other person to provide a love experience. It doesn't mean that you're just the receiver of love. You could be the giver of love, and that there's a lot of pleasure and joy in that in itself. But the primal encounter has a much deeper and richer quality of love to it. And I can't really tell you what a love relationship based on two people who have this primal life would be like. I haven't experienced it yet, but I am certain that I would rather enter a love relationship after having had my own primal encounter with myself. So we are seeking a love relationship, and it doesn't happen automatically. Not everybody is waking up to themselves and realizing that they're right at home and that they have all the care and love that they need, and they have a sense of transcendent direction and transcendent sort of self-ownership and responsibility and just a joy of living. It doesn't come to us in an automatic way. So I think there are probably some people for whom it is much easier and some people for whom it is much harder to come to a sense of well-being and personal just at-homeness. But what I want to talk about is what can we do to make this happen? And I've been asked this question. I wasn't really able to answer it very well for a very long time. My first primal encounter was almost 15 years ago, and it changed my life dramatically. But it didn't solve all my problems, and I didn't know how to repeat the experience. I didn't know how to get it back. But I've since learned how to do it, and I am really happy about that fact. So I want to share with you how it works. And there's more than one way to do it. But let's start here. That essentially what's happening inside of the mind, inside of the primal mind or the primal life, or the primal person, is that we're having an encounter between two aspects of ourself. Two aspects that belong together and are suited very well for each other, but which have been alienated by culture and life and perhaps deeper psychological and cultural reasons or spiritual reasons, which I can go into in a different video. But for right now, what I want to suggest is that we humans are living still kind of in a pre-primal world, or I think we're kind of cusping out of it right now. And that's not to say that people haven't been discovering the primal life before now, but maybe the minority of people. I think we're coming to a time when anybody can do that, and I think it's going to be kind of the gateway for every human and every family and our world at large. And that's what I'm arguing for anyway in my channel, and I'm here to talk to you about that. So Prime is a very personal thing. It isn't something that you can kind of box and just ship out. It's something that has to happen with the full willingness of the person. And I don't know what you will find. I can't know. I can only know what I find. But I can suggest, and I think I have a good amount of repeatable evidence in the sense that there are people who I found who have definitely had a kind of primal encounter or are living a kind of primal life. And there are some general rules or general kind of ways that we can understand the process by which they were able to initiate contact with their inner self or their higher self, if you will. I just want to say one word about, before I talk about how to clear the way for a primal encounter, I just want to talk a little bit about language, because it's really unfortunate that in English we don't have great words to describe these two aspects of self. But I'm going to use some of them here, but just be mindful that these words are a little bit misleading. And I'll tell you why. So let's take, for example, you have two sides of a let's say a traditional human relationship. You have a male and a female relationship. So we know what male and female generally designates. We may not know what it truly means on a deeper level, but we can kind of all agree what it means. But the two aspects of self are not as easily identified. But we can use terms like higher and lower self, or inner and outer self. But these are misnomers because the inner person doesn't really have a location. It is neither higher nor lower, really. It is not really inside but not outside. And the outer self is not just outside, it's also inside. So these names are kind of hiding a deeper truth about what these positions are. So I kind of like to say that there are positions rather than identities. So like the inner self is more in an inner position. It can be in an outer position, and the outer position can be in an inner position, but generally the inner self will keep an inner position or a higher position. But really, those words are kind of missing the point of what we're trying to bring together. Because really, in the end of it, the encounter space is not about two things that are in different places coming together. It's about two things that are in the same place, but they're not seeing each other. They're not recognizing each other. They're not speaking to each other. They're not related properly to each other. And what we're looking for is the relationship, and we're looking for the experience, which happen kind of through and through. They're not something where you bring your lower self to the higher self, or you bring the higher self to the lower self, or you bring the inner to the outer, or the outer to the inner. You're not bringing the selves to the other self's position. You're actually you're joining the selves in the moment, here and now, so that they overlap and they're becoming one, and there's a big warm embrace and a big warm recognition, a life-changing, powerful love that is filling your whole body, your whole mind, your past, present, and future. It is transcendent of time and space. It is something numinous or transcendent, but it is also phenomenal. It isn't just numinal. So, so that aside, what I can say is, and I'll just get this is my last point, and I'll make it quickly. That the when two parties are estranged, it's really important that what is estranging them is come out into the open or confessed. So if I am spending, for example, most of my free mind time in a state of anxiety or depression or isolation or overwhelm or blame or fantasy, if my mind is preoccupied with those states, you could call them dysregulated states, then your mind is not available for the deeper relationship with yourself. So you're not going to discover your primal self. You're not going to discover the unique person that you are, because you're preoccupied with a lot of feelings that may or may not be justified. It doesn't really matter if they are or aren't. But the exercise that can be really helpful to kind of invite the primal encounter, so that you can have the peace and security and power to do everything that your heart desires. One technique is to write. Okay, so writing is, for me, the number one way to open the path for primal encounter. And writing can go something like this. I am afraid that I won't have a primal encounter today. I am afraid that my primal encounter time will be interrupted by somebody. I'm afraid that if I have a primal encounter, I'm going to become someone who maybe the important people in my life won't like. I'm afraid that if I don't have my primal encounter, then the people in my life won't like who I am, or won't be able to harmonize with me, or I won't be able to have a positive influence. So we have kind of fears that are, I would say, residual. They're residual in the sense that they come from a long life and many generations of sub-primal living. So we're jostling for money, and jostling for attention, and jostling for influence. We are out there trying to push our own needs and our own desires onto the world, and we're trying to jostling to extract from the world experiences that are meaningful to us. And we do this because we have not had the primal encounter with ourselves. We are not at home with ourselves. We are not self-satisfied. So we spend all of our time ruminating about the things we don't have, and the things we want to get, and the people we want to influence, and the attention we might need, or the influence we might want to make on others. We become preoccupied with certain behaviors, or certain material things, or with certain experiences, certain types of relationships. We might want to have power over other people, or we might want to be bossed around. We might want to just be told what to do because it's easier. So we spend a lot of time in the subprime world, obsessing over the nature of reality and how can we get what we need from reality. We spend all of our time in the outer world, and that causes incredible grief and fear and anger and jealousy and blame, because the world does not conform to the subprimal person. The subprimal person is kind of more in their animal mind. They can use lots of intelligence, a lot of charm, a lot of wit, a lot of endurance and talent. But ultimately, they are not coming to the world with their own prime. They are not self aware, self satisfied. They are not feeling truly loved. So the love experience, the encounter with Prime that produces the love experience, it changes everything. It makes it, you suddenly realize that you don't need XYZ to be happy and satisfied and fulfilled and to bring something wonderful to the world or to your own life. You are not contingent. Your happiness is not contingent on the outer world. And this gives you tons of energy because now you don't have to obsess or blame or be jealous or be angry or scared. Your soul is eternal, and your identity is an absolutely infinitely valuable gift that was given to you and can't be taken away. So once we know the treasure that really lies inside of us, our life completely changes. And so I just wanted to throw out there a little bit of like a overview of what I'm talking about when I talk about primal encounter, and also just a quick thought of an action step that you can take right now, today. And I will be talking about some source material about this particular type of exercise where you are writing. In a way, it's a confession of fear. It could be anger, it could be jealousy, but the root emotion is generally fear. The fear might be tied into jealousy. I'm afraid that someone's better than me and I'm not going to get the attention that I need, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose someone's attention. You could be angry, but it's mostly you're angry because you're scared of something. So, and then if you go even deeper underneath the fear, there might be sadness, and that's also a golden opportunity if you can identify your own sadness and longing. Because when the primal encounter comes, this is where your sadness is really melted. So, and fears and angers and all the other stuff too. So I'm going to leave it there. This is kind of just a sweeping sort of an introduction, I guess, to what I'm talking about primal encounter, and one way of seeking that encounter or preparing one's mind for that encounter. So again, an exercise being writing down, where is my mind occupied? Where do I feel unstable? Where do I feel overwhelmed? Where do I feel bad feelings or bad thoughts? Confess those, and as many people do in religions or in recovery culture or in therapy, you can just simply open yourself to the relationship of the inner self, that the inner core of yourself that really knows clearly who you are and what you need. We have to open the path to that voice. We have to become familiar with the sound of that voice and also how it feels to be in the presence of your true mind, of your deepest mind, or your prime is what I like to call it. So you are writing the things that are troubling you, and then you can just simply offer that and say, hey, this is where my mind has been, but now I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna as is done in again in recovery, religion, therapy, you are asking for higher wisdom to guide your time together, and you just set out some time and you sit. And in the sitting, it's just a matter of resting your mind and seeing what happens next. So I hope you have a good experience with that. I will be putting again some links to different activities that are similar to this, and you're welcome to try them out. And I wish you all the best.